Hello and welcome everyone to Weekend Rental, episode 51. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. You can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com, and our podcast episodes are available on Google Play, iTunes, and Podbean. We are kicking off the episode, as always, with Buy, Rent, Burn, but first let's introduce us, because I forgot to do that. I'm Ryan. I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Nate.
Hi, Ryan. It's Nate.
Hi. Nice to meet you guys. Professional podcast here. So we're going to dive into Buy, Rent, Burn. If you're new to the podcast, basically what we do is we pick a given system. This episode, the Game Boy Advance. We all pick a game for it. We'll play them individually, and then we give our verdict on whether we would buy, rent, or burn those games. So let's go through the list here. It's quite an eclectic list. Interesting one for this episode for sure. Andy has gone with It's Mr. Pants. Nate has gone with The Scorpion King, Sword of Osiris. And I have gone with Driver 3, which is spelled very stupid and made it hard to find a ROM for. So let's go.
Three-er?
Yeah. We're just going to replace that E with the 3, call it a game. And let's go back up to the top. We're going to hear a little bit about Andy's game, It's Mr. Pants. So generally what we do is read the descriptions on these. Here is the description for this game, according to GameFAQs. It's Mr. Pants is a puzzle game developed by Rare Limited and published by THQ, which was released in Europe in 2005. That is, I guess. I guess you can't put into words what this game is.
It kind of sucks that like that description goes like It's Mr. Pants is a puzzle game. Like they just get right into what it is. There's no mystery into like they should all like drag that out. Even like here, I didn't even want to say it was a puzzle game. Just like leave it up as a mystery of what that game, what that title would be.
Is he living, breathing pants? Is it just a guy who wears pants?
Yeah, tell me more about these pants. So confusing.
It could just be a normal dude where his last name is Pants. Who knows?
That's true.
It's French. That wasn't a kick to any of our French listeners. Sorry.
None of you.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea what this game was for sure when I picked it, when I downloaded it, everything. Like it was complete surprise to me. That Rare logo was like, okay, what's going on here? But that game is not found on the Rare Replay.
Weird, huh?
But yeah, it's I don't really know how to describe this type of puzzle game. It's kind of, you're getting like Tetris pieces.
Tetris on methamphetamines.
But yeah, it's weird because you can only build rectangle or square shapes. And if you don't, then you fail. And it's like, God, it took me a while to figure out what I was doing wrong. I'm like, why is this not working? You match things, they disappear. It's so weird.
Yep. So yeah, you there's some spaces on the board. And you get these pieces and you have to match the colors, try and get them into rectangles. Some of them are split into two different colors, kind of like hugging each other, and then you can overlap them as well. But like you do the really easy ones and it's like, okay, no big deal. I see what they're going for. And then you go I went right into the normal difficulty. And then I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. Like, It was pretty tough to figure out right away. Like I guess I should have taken that whole ramp all the way through that first easy path to be able to wrap my head around some of the harder ones.
Yes.
But yeah, toward the end where I was playing, I was like, I don't have the capacity to think this way.
Yeah, it takes a leap from like fun to like I just want to throw my GBA through the television right now.
And let's put the soundtrack on top of that, though.
Yeah, so that's weird. Like that's
you can't bring up when that music is playing. You're like, "What the heck? This is stressing me out."
And just like the whole package for this game, it's like they came up with a interesting take on a puzzle game, but then they're like, how do we make this different? They're like, oh, I know, let's make it look like a 5-year-old drew like a dude who only wears underpants, and then we'll flash underpants in this crudely drawn stick figure. And then does he say Mr. Pants, or is it pants all the time? It's like pants. pants. I'm just like, what? It's like if Adult Swim threw up a puzzle game is kind of how I feel like this game is.
But the puzzle has nothing to do with pants or anything.
No.
It's just all the surrounding.
Yes.
It's like they bought this game from somebody else and they're like, oh, let's.
Right.
Some marketing guy was like, I really like pants.
Some weirdo just like came up with this crazy idea to wrap around a puzzle game.
The Never Nudes really love it.
It's so bizarre.
It's sponsored
Like,
by
I think-
Dockers.
Like I like that it takes the puzzle game aspect and it turns it into like essentially like a set piece that has like mostly, 1 to 2 kind of solutions, and it's not like this endless grind like you see with Tetris or Columns or Dr. Mario. Well, I guess Dr. Mario you can clear a stage, but I like that approach to it. I just can't get over how bizarre and weird the whole Mr. Pants persona is to this thing. It's just mind-blowing that this is even produced. Like, I can see this as a Flash game. I can't see this as something that actually ended up on a GBA cart.
When I was going through our list, I assumed that this was a Ryan pick just by the name, because Ryan always goes with just the strangest games. I've played a lot of games with weird titles because of Ryan, and I was like, okay, this is for sure a Ryan pick. No, I was surprised that it was Andy, but it was just a confusing game. I think you go in with the mentality of this is going to be like Tetris. It's going to be Tetris,
Right.
and then you're disappointed because you can't figure it out, and it's nothing like Tetris. And you got the obnoxious soundtrack going along, and yeah, his random pants, maybe, if that's what he's saying. It's one of the strangest experiences that I've ever had with the GBA, and I'm surprised it's a game. It's making me nauseous.
I think like in states that have legalized recreational marijuana, this would be like probably the best afternoon ever. But
Yeah,
in North
you
Dakota,
play
it's
the
a little
game.
tough.
You're just there.
Right. You're in your underpants. You've got a guy next to you named Mr. Pants in your head. You're playing this game. It's great. I don't know what this one is so weird.
People who need cosplay ideas, they should check this game out.
No one would know. They're like, who are you? Mr. Pants. That's not a real thing. No, it really is. Mr. Pants.
And you're in jail. All right, let's move on to the next one. Nate's pick, the Scorpion King for the Game Boy Advance. The description on this one. So after the death of Memnon, the evil Menthu has risen to power, determined to lead his legions of warriors and destroy Egypt once and for all. As the Scorpion King, you must journey through the ancient deserts, overpowering everything in your path to find the Sword of Osiris and unleash its powers.
Yep. So
That's it.
this is based off a movie, The Scorpion King, which I've never seen. I know
It's bad.
I know Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's in it, and that's always fun. So this is considered an actual sequel to the movie. I don't know if they even came out with a sequel to that original movie, but this is
There's probably like
There's
7
like
of them, I think.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Really?
there's like 3 Scorpion Kings, not to mention like the Mummy one that like started it all. So
sure. So I don't know if this is post a second movie or right after the first movie. I guess you would consider it a platform beat 'em up game, I guess. I would say it leans more towards the platforming. So you're basically going around slashing people up. It's kind of strange when you are greeted by the first enemies. First you go through kind of a backstory of what's happening. But as you go through the first enemies, you slash one and they take off running and kind of like regroup, which is kind of an interesting mechanic. Typically, those types of games, they're constantly battling you instead of like running away, regrouping with another person. So that was kind of unique. I thought the game got really fun when you start moving into some of the actual platforming stages, and it has some really interesting mechanics. So it's not just slashing people up, but you're climbing on ropes, jumping over voids, but then you're also using your sword and driving it into the wall and kind of wall jumping or double jumping, which is kind of fun. And then the ability when you hold down A to climb across ceilings by stabbing it with your sword. And then I thought that was kind of cool.
That's how gravity works.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. It's a really good sword, high quality. And so I thought that made the game very interesting. I don't care about the story, but I like the looks of it, and it was a fun game. And that's more my style of game anyways.
Everything you said, I agree with 100%.
Thanks, Ryan.
But here's what I will say. This game is made by WayForward. So here's exactly what this game is. Somebody came to WayForward and said, we got a license. We'll pay you a bunch of money to make a game. And WayForward's like, hey, we have Shantae. Let's just put Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Shantae and call it a different game. This is Shantae. This is Shantae with a license.
Even the animations, like the way they bounce up and down, that is a Shantae animation for sure.
It was the easiest turn and burn for WayForward to make this game. And yeah, it's a fun game because Shantae is a fun game. It's just, I mean, get it. If you can find it, it's a good game, but also you could just play Shantae on anything.
I always forget.
I liked it.
I always forget, and we'll kind of jump into this on your pick, but I forget like the power of the GBA and kind of the look. I always just associate GBA as like a Game Boy, where graphically it's nothing impressive. But I think every time that we've done a GBA, like the games are fairly decent, fairly impressive, and they look really good, minus Mr. Pants. But
yeah, I mean, it's essentially a souped up Super Nintendo. I mean,
yeah. So when they did the cutscene of like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, looked like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and so they did pretty good with that.
Yep. Did you notice the when you play as the lady the first time, she has a smaller sword compared to the male? What kind of sexist bullshit is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's science. It's just science.
WayForward has a thing with like female character modeling, though. They definitely get proportions of areas in a certain light. They're good at it. Surprisingly, she looked less skanky than Shantae does, which is like intended for like children by the cover, or like, you know, the art style.
And man children as well. But
yes.
Don't kill me. I've never played Shantae. Don't kill me.
It's really good. If you can get I think it's on about everything.
So I thought this game was like genius. I'm like, oh, this looks amazing. It plays so well. Well, now I know it's a ripoff. It just discounts the game. Thank you.
I mean, it's a really smart thing to do with a licensed game because they kind of did what everyone fails to do, and that's make a good licensed game. So even though it's just a reskin of something they already did, it's hard to knock them for it. I think it's pretty good. If you're going to play a movie game on the GBA, you could do far
I was expecting bad. I've never really played movie games that are good.
Oh, I was too.
So it was a pleasant surprise.
I thought you put this in a random game generator and you pick this one came out. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this. And then it was like WayForward came up like, oh, okay, this is going to be okay at least.
Right.
I didn't even know it was based off the movie.
But they're still doing that.
What else have they ported and reskinned?
They made a really good Metroidvania on that last Mummy movie.
Oh, the Mummy Demastered.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah. So they're still making these Mummy movies.
They got a niche, Shantae and movie licenses.
By the way, the fifth Scorpion King movie came out last year.
Okay.
Wow. That is exactly 5 more Scorpion King movies than the world needs.
Yep.
I feel like I need to go back and watch them.
You don't.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to my pick. Last one here, Driver 3. So the description on this one: the wheelman returns in his most dangerous adventure yet, an interactive driving epic on par with the most intense Hollywood action blockbusters. Undertake a variety of high-speed vehicle-based missions and go deeper undercover than ever before. And then it just kind of goes into like how many weapons and playable things it features. But I mean, I guess if you're familiar with the Driver series, I would say Driver 1 and 2 basically set the precedent for what kicked off the open world game phenomenon, which GTA 3 basically took those elements, especially from Driver 2, and fleshed a whole game around being able to get in and out of the car. Driver 3, I remember having a bunch of fanfare and just kind of bombing hard on like major platforms, Xbox, PlayStation 2. I mean, it just could not keep up with what Grand Theft Auto had done. I will say this, though, on the GBA is a very competent game. It's one of those games that tries to do 3D on the Game Boy Advance, which it's capable of to some extent, but not real well. I would say it pulls the illusion off pretty good. You can hop in and out of your car. You can go shoot people, which is kind of awkward, but the driving feels good. The sound effects feel good. I don't know. I mean, it's. I know there were Game Boy or DS versions of like Grand Theft Auto games, but I don't think there was a GTA on the Game Boy Advance that I'm aware of. So this kind of captures the essence of, you know, hopping in and out of the world and stealing cars and doing dumb crap. I don't know. It's a driver game though. I mean, it runs pretty good.
Yeah, they did port the first two Grand Theft Autos to GBA, but that's top down.
Okay,
you
sure.
know, where this
2D,
is trying to, this is trying to do GTA 3 style, and for the most part, it pulls it off pretty well. Like you said, it. I actually was really impressed with how sharp everything looked.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the textures were kind of blurry.
Yeah, I was gonna say the road warping was weird, but
well, you play it and it feels like you're playing it through a snow globe, kind of, because like the edges wrap around in a weird circular way. PS1 kind of does that, but not anywhere close to this extent.
Yeah,
but yeah, but the buildings and everything, like the textures aren't real sharp, but they made them sharp in a way that you can tell what they are really well, I guess. I don't know.
I was surprised to see, I mean, driver games in general are a decent sized game. And so to see something of that open world-esque type game on the GBA is kind of cool. It looked a little weird for me. I know what they were trying to pull off, but I was getting a little sick at times. Well, that wraparound, it was kind of weird. And I hate games when you turn and everything kind of turns. It just feels very unnatural. I thought it was funny when you go through the tutorial and you get in your car and you drive and you get your gun and then they say, go clean up the streets. Like, I just went out and started shooting like everything. It was just, I was probably making things more chaotic. And like the first mission that you go to and you start running into guys, I think that's funny. Like, go clean up the streets, go shoot them, and just go take care of it without any remorse. But it's a fun game. Drive around and shoot things and do some missions. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too. Like in that first level, when you approach that first building, did anyone else clip into the curb? Like apparently your character is unable of just stepping up a curb, so you must use the jump button to hop up on the curb. I'm like, are you kidding me? You couldn't have just left this all flat textured? Like, come on. Yeah,
whatever that space was where you pick up your gun.
Yeah,
that was.
It's bizarre.
And then there's just guys running around. Like, you got to shoot them.
There's no motive.
Yeah,
just kill them.
Just clean up the streets. That's it.
These crazy people just running in this parking lot, just mow them down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it does anything amazing, but it definitely feels like a competent handheld version of that style of game, considering the hardware.
I think the graphics are amazing for what they pulled off.
Yeah. Well, and there wasn't a whole lot of slowdown. I mean, definitely pop-in and stuff, but it was pretty solid. I spent a good amount of time just like whipping around the block, hand braking, and that was fun. I could do that for a while.
When you're driving the car and you run into something, you bounce back, but you're still damaging your car. You're like, I feel like my car's made out of rubber here because I just bounced back 20 feet and now, yeah, I thought that was pretty comical.
All right, verdict time. Let's go back up to the top, Andy. What do you think?
My buy is going to be Scorpion King. I would definitely keep playing that a lot longer. That was a quality video game. on something that where you see the title and it's not. Yeah, I would definitely play that one more. And my rent. Oh man, I think it's gonna be Mr. Pants.
Wow.
What?
Because I mean I like puzzle games quite a bit, and this one really kind of scratched that, like, oh, I've never seen a mechanic like this where it's kind of like Tetris, but also negative Tetris, because you have to take away the overlapping pieces to form. So there's two ways to think about it. It's like Tetris twice at the same time. Plus, I kind of like the weirdness to it, even if it got a little bit too weird. I don't know.
I think there's undertones of like pedophilia in there. I don't know. I think it crosses a line.
It could be. Hey kids, you want to try some puzzles? Oh boy. And yeah, I think my burn's going to be drier.
Yep, nailed it.
Because I don't know, it's tough to go back to. I think it's really impressive what they did on the Game Boy. But unlike, some of the other kind of pseudo 3D games like Tony Hawk and X vs. Ever, like, I think I enjoyed playing those more, where this is really clunky.
Sure. I can see that. Nate, how about you?
Man, Andy, I'm surprised by that. I thought it was very clear cut. You surprise me every time. The buy is going to be Scorpion King. That's just, it's probably more selfish reasons. I really enjoy those style of games. I love platformers. Just so I'm always going to gravitate to that more. But it is impressive. It looks great. It plays really well, even though it is a reskin now that I know that. And so that's going to be my buy. My rent is going to be Driver. I think there's a lot to that game. It's a decent sized game. And that's one that I could find myself just renting in a store, sitting on a full weekend and just driving around. And I think it is very impressive what they did back then, and it doesn't really translate well now, but it looks like there's just some sustenance, and that means that I wouldn't have to choose that awful Mr. Pants game. So I just wanted to push that away as far as I could. I don't want to be associated with that game whatsoever.
You're torching your pants?
I'm torching those pants. That game was obnoxious, and I just want to play Tetris. I just want to sit down. I want to play Tetris. I don't want to hear pants, and I don't want to hear the obnoxious music. I don't like the panic with that. I don't know what's going on. I had maybe 2 minutes with the game, and I'm like, no, I can't do this. I'm done, Mr. Pants. I'm not a fan of pants. I'm a fan of pants, not Mr. Pants. That's really weird. Ryan, how about you?
Noted. All right. So after playing all these games last night, my pick was my buy. I thought for sure was going to be Mr. Pants, just because like the humor and the absurdity kind of, I'm like, I must own this. It's so bizarre, but I hated the puzzle game. I was not a fan of it. So I'm going to buy the obvious choice, the actual like best quality game, Scorpion King. I like Shantae. I like Way Forward. I like what they did with this. Yeah, it's a reskin of like something they've already done, but it's a good formula and it makes for a good game, which I wasn't expecting at all. So that's awesome, because this game is way better than any of those movies. I'm going to rent Driver 3. Just, I mean, it's one of those examples again on the GBA where they've done 3D to surprising amount of success, I guess. I like the way it felt like I was playing a pretty primitive version of Grand Theft Auto 3. It was fine. It didn't blow me away, but I could see myself sinking some time into that. And as much as it saddens me, I'm going to burn Mr. Pants, even though I kind of love how completely asinine that entire thing is. And to be honest, if I was just going to have to, like, if all three of these cartridges were put in front of me, I would buy Mr. Pants in real life. But like as a game, in the context of Byron Burn, I have to light that poor bastard on fire. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, presenting puzzles to kids in his underpants. It's not right. It's not right at all. Sorry, Mr. Pants, you're burnt. Another.
Oh boy,
What?
there is something on the Rare Replay about. There's like a little documentary video or whatever about the making of Mr. Pants.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to watch this now.
Oh wait, yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that at some point.
All right, another Byron burn in the books.
It's Mr. Pants.
Mr. Pants is a crassly drawn stick man. He was created by Lee Loveday in an attempt to bring some quirky British humour to our website.
And apparently he sent out a call to try and get an artist to draw him a character and no one would. So just to kind of spite everyone, he drew this horrible stick figure.
Which was like a kind of fat matchstick man wearing pants with a bowler hat and a clipboard. So he was completely official.
I'm not sure if everybody in America fully understood the concept because what they term pants, Mr. Pants doesn't actually wear.
All right, so moving on from Byron Byrne. This episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. We have an interview coming up with Cassidy of Replay Games. Nate and I were able to sit down with him, talk about his awesome business here in the Fargo Moorhead area, and he gave us a little insight to making that a reality. So here we go. We'll transition to the interview. All right, so we are downtown at the fantastic Replay Games, sitting down with Cassidy. New business in town, or newish. You've been here about a year now?
Yeah, just over a year, 13 months, June 1st, so.
Awesome. I know we're all fans of this place, but thought we'd sit down and just talk about the shop, what you do, and just kind of go from there.
Sure. So, yeah, I am the owner of Replay Games, and I co-own it with my wife, Tish, and we joke that my 2-year-old's the CEO. But yeah.
I've actually seen some of the posts of him like walking down the sidewalk, and you have like a picture of him, and they're like, there's the CEO.
Utilizing the boss baby hashtag, so it's always fun, and he loves being here with the customers and stuff like that, and he refers to everybody as friends, and especially with birthday parties, he will start crying when they leave, which is hilarious. So like our customer retention rate's really high. But it's we run and manage and own Replay Games, which we're a modern day video game arcade. Basically, we wanted to focus on like if a retail store wasn't just chasing that dollar, we wanted to buy, sell, trade, offer games for rent for people, especially with these old titles that become really expensive to get. That you want to spend $200 on a game that you might not even like. And so we created this idea that, like, my wife really tells the story of the best is that as long as she's known me, and we've been together for 13 years, that I've talked about this kind of idea is like, wouldn't it be cool if there's a place that you didn't have to just buy games, but you also play games? And, she just kind of got fed up with this idea of me talking about it. So she put her foot down. She's like, do the research, find out if it's worth it, write a business plan. And so I did that, and here we are. So she was actually hoping that it would shut me up because it would be that the research would show that it wasn't a good idea. And it was like after doing some of the big things where it was like finding out that you look at the average game being lengthwise between 12 to 15 hours in length, $60 a new title. It's like, well, if you're buying new titles at that rate, your entertainment hour is about $8 an hour. That doesn't include buying your TV, the systems and all that stuff, controllers. And I mean, what are the Joy-Cons, like $70 for a new set of controllers? So
at least,
yeah. So it's like you're easily reaching $12 to $15 an hour if you go into that regard. Especially, if you want that nice OLED TV or something like that. But so we wanted to be able to create an environment that focuses on playing games as well as selling games. And because of the arcade attached to it, we're able to pay a little bit more for the trade-ins and then sell them for a little bit less just to help the community out and establish a community around that.
Sure.
And then like I said, I did the research. We discovered that interesting dynamic about the pay per hour kind of stuff. And we started looking at, the basics of what does it take to get financing for a business and stuff like that, and the joyous conversations with banks.
Right, to go in and say, all right, I have an idea. it's video game related, and you probably were like, nah, we're out. Like, we don't even want to talk about that.
Very hardcore business professional people that, video games are a distraction to them kind of mentality.
Sure. Yeah.
We the first guy I sat down with actually laughed in my face about the idea, which was a great way to start a conversation.
Right.
I had a business plan, and that was the big thing that I sat down with 5 different banks.
Sure.
And before one said, okay, let's do it. And so it's like, they're worse than a job interview. You're sitting down for 3 hours, and I have this 40-page business plan that I've written, and they all agreed that I had a really well-designed business plan, but because no one's done it, they had to assume maximum risk, and they're like, we just don't think it's viable. It's like, well, why don't you let me apply for the loan and find out if I qualify for the loan, and we go from there, right? But like even our personal bank, they wouldn't even let us apply for the loan, which is garbage, just because especially we were utilizing the Bank of North Dakota's got some really great entrepreneurship grants, loan programs basically. So beginner entrepreneur loan funding program. Basically what they do is they guarantee a loan to the bank. So even though they're another bank, they're the ones that are going to assume the risk. They, I think when it was all said and done, like we needed a bank to just say yes, and Bank of North Dakota was going to put a 95% guarantee on that loan for that bank. So it's like the bank really had no risk assessment, right? They're losing 5% of $115,000 loan, so $5,000, which I essentially paid in the closing costs. Like they've made their money back at this point,
right?
So that was really frustrating to deal with, like those first 4 lenders. Whereas like you deal with that, they're literally like pulling the staples out of your business plan to tear through it and like asking a million questions, and then they'll like, okay, well we'll be in touch, and a week later they say no.
Right.
So you're sinking a ton of time into it, a ton of investment into that, and then to get that no, it's like, okay, we go back to the drawing board, like, because that's one thing is that they just don't feel good about it. It's all based off of how they feel about it. They don't tell you what is their issue with it. Of course, they would love to see me have dollar for dollar of what I'm asking for, but if I had $115,000, I wouldn't be asking for a loan.
Right.
So,
So, this really shows that just how much you believe in this model and Replay Games itself. Yeah. It's not, I'm just going to do this and here's a loan. Like, you've done your research, you've done everything that you needed to do. And so that shows that like you're just passionate about this and having something like this in the community, because there is nothing else like this that I've even heard of. So it was a very unique model.
Yeah. And like I said, we would go back to the drawing board of the business plan, and it's like, okay, what can we do that would just kind of sweeten the pot a little bit more? And so it's like, we even had a section in our business plan that's like, if this fails, how are we going to pay back the loan? Step 1, we get full-time jobs again, because this is what our full-time job is currently.
Sure.
We will start selling inventory at a reduced rate just because we need to move some capital kind of thing. And worst case scenario is that we have to sell out and then we work from home or do whatever we need to do for, closing the store down, but we still have to make this loan payment back, that, we don't want to default on this loan kind of thing. And so we got some interesting nods toward that, but it wasn't, again, letting us get this loan going. And it ended up that a friend of mine who is a huge, he likes to surf imager. And so he found a article from a company that posted that they're celebrating 7 years in 2017, Level Up Game Center in Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, this is similar to what you were talking about starting. You should check this out. And so, of course, I did. And it was like, yeah, if we had computers and we had our own like pizza oven and stuff like that, and we were a balls distribution kind of center, getting those energy drinks going. But like they were exactly the same, essentially. The only thing we didn't have was foosball tables and PCs, essentially.
Sure.
But they were doing a lot of similar stuff. And so I was like, this is really cool. And they've been in business. I can't remember if it was the 7th or 8th year that they were celebrating. But anyways, I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I'm working on a similar business model. Do you have any pointers you want to give? So he's like, yeah, definitely use us for risk assessment. Here's what we're doing. And ended up creating a pretty cool relationship with this. They're down in Augusta, Georgia. I probably will never get a chance to see them, but someday I hope to. But it was just kind of cool that Robert Steele's the owner down there, and he's like, all about community kind of thing. And that was already what I was trying to establish here.
Right.
And so we were able to take that conversation, that information, and apply it to our business plan as well. And the funny thing is I took all this information. It's like, okay, I'm pretty defeated at this point at 4 banks saying no. And the only thing that kept me going there was my cousins have a chiropractic business in Oklahoma that they approached 9 banks.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, if we get to 9 banks and we say no, then we'll try something else, right? We'll wait a few years or whatever.
Right.
So that was like my driving force. But anyways, we took that information from Level Up and added it to the business plan. I emailed 4 different banks to who do I talk to about business loans and stuff like that. And of those 4, Gate City was one of the ones that responded right away. Talked to a guy named Rick over there. He's fantastic to work with. And send me your business plan. We'll at least see what you look like on paper kind of thing. And like the funny thing is they don't normally take outside business loans. You have to be a customer for at least a year kind of thing normally.
Sure.
So he liked what he saw in the business plan. He's like, okay, well, let's do the credit pull and see what that looks like. And hey, that looks great and stuff like that. So the bank manager, that was the first question he came back with was like, are you currently a customer of Gate City? And it's like, no, but if that's all it takes, like, I'll gladly
sign me
become one.
up, savings accounts and everything.
Exactly. So anyways, we went through all these terrible interview processes to get that no out of it. And then with Gate City, it was like a bunch of emails and 15 minutes on the phone. And like we didn't have that annoying process.
Yeah,
like,
that's amazing.
It was just all application. But what we did not expect with that was it took like 6 months for them to finalize the application and get it submitted and everything crossed and checked and everything. And so I was like, with my previous job, I was working full time. They knew I was working on this idea, but they're like, hey, CJ, when's the update coming for this job that you're working on, this business? And it's like, I'm in the pendulum loop, basically. I don't know what's happening. And so I was like, I first told them about it in June of 2017. And by December 28th, we had the money finally. Wow. So it was like literally the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
And like, it was getting close to where we were told we're getting close. We don't know if we actually are getting anything because unless it's in your hand, you don't have anything.
Right.
But I was like, kind of taking that leap of faith. It's like, okay, we're going to jump with both feet in kind of thing. Lord, take the wheel. So I quit my job November 14th and it was like a month and 2 weeks before we found out we even had the loan.
Yeah.
So that was scary, but we had some surprise funding come in that we were able to kind of deal with our bills and get our debt kind of knocked down a little bit to start something if it's going to happen. So awesome. But at least gave us that breathing room. If it wasn't going to happen, I could look for other work or whatever. So. But it just happened to work out the way it needed to. So
awesome. And we're sitting in this awesome room, and our listeners can't capture what we're seeing. Why don't you explain the stations that you have all around here, what's on them, and just kind of explain maybe what's popular, what's not. And
so like I mentioned about, we wanted to create an environment that was not just buying and selling games. We didn't want to be looking like we're chasing a dollar by any means. We wanted that very casual community feel. We wanted people to come in and come back. And so I was really intentional about how the ecosystem was going to play out. And so we got the Xbox One all the way to the Atari 2600. We got Nintendo Switches, PlayStation 4 Pros, our Xbox Ones are the One X model. And then when you get older, it's like, okay, well, you'll see that I have a bunch of flat screen TVs here. And if you've been into retro gaming at all, you know that retro TVs don't normally, especially new TVs, don't play well with the retro consoles.
Right.
And so we were really intentional about how to give these consoles a breath of fresh air. So we have FrameMeisters hooked up to the old stuff, and then eventually I'll get the cables I need for the 64 and regular Nintendo, but we're upscaling RGB content and stuff like that. So it makes it look really good too. So anyways, we have 24 stations split across 40 years of gaming. We don't got some of the niche consoles yet where I'd love to get like a TurboGrafx or a PC Engine.
We added the Virtual Boy at least.
Yeah, we got a Virtual Boy just recently. A guy dropped off a Magnavox Odyssey 2, so that's pretty cool.
I think I saw that.
I have a C64, Commodore 64 that it was in the back of a wood shop, so I don't know if it runs yet, but worst case, it just might need some capacitors. We'll see. But so eventually we'll add service to our list of services that we do. But anyways, so we were talking about that really unique look, like especially with the retro stuff, you normally want a bunch of CRT monitors and stuff like that. One, it's hard to get a universal look with CRT monitors because you're only stuck with what you can find available locally, and you're probably going to be fixed to really weighted down TVs. And to get an entertainment center that's going to handle all those kind of TVs was just going to be a nightmare. And so we did create a nice look where we got a lot of furniture from IKEA, and I probably won't ever use IKEA again from a business relationship standpoint, just because it was a nightmare to get this much product up to Fargo.
Right. Because we don't have one here.
The closest is in Twin Cities.
Yeah.
3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah. And so, and like their thing was that they don't ship unless the truck is full, which means absolutely nothing to anybody, because we don't know how big the truck needs to be or anything like that. So we've been working with them for a long time. We'd gone down a couple different trips to the cities area just for fun and stuff like that. And every time we go to IKEA just to see what's there, and I instantly fell in love with these chairs called Poang chairs, and you can see them on the IKEA website. But they're a cool. My personal take on it is I really am obsessed with Japanese culture. So they're a Japanese design Norwegian chair, I guess you could say. They're Japanese inspired anyways with the bentwood frame. But I did not want to do the rolling computer style chairs. That's a little stereotypical, and I just feel like it's not needed kind of thing. It wasn't going to create the atmosphere I wanted. But yeah, we instantly fell in love with these chairs. And of course, how to work. The lady we were working with was like, okay, when you're ready to order these chairs, they knew that the cushion that we liked was going to get discontinued, but it wasn't going to get discontinued until May 1st. But what she didn't tell me was that they were pulling it from the website in the middle of March.
Oh.
And of course, it's like third week of March. I'm going to try to order them finally after we got all the funding and stuff, and we got our space actually leased out, and so we're signed and ready to move in. That it's like, oh, now we can't order the cushions we wanted. And the only two choices they had at the time was a black and white floral pattern.
Nice.
That's what you needed.
Or a vertical jail bar stripe. And I was just like, the jail bar stripes would have been close because it's black and white. It's kind of our main themes with the color choicing. But it was just like, this sucks kind of thing. And of course, they're like $20 more for the cushions than these just standard black ones. And so I was pretty pissed off when I ended up calling and be like, hey, what's the deal here? And she's like, well, we don't have the information yet that they're going to be creating these replacement cushions. They're going under a different name, but they're the exact same cushion for the same price, thankfully. But it wasn't until like the second week of April that they were going to receive them in stock. So she was special ordering a bunch of these because we were getting 60 of these chairs that they were only going to get like 10 originally kind of thing. And so she special ordered them. And it was just like getting the stars to align to get this order complete. It's all
just for chairs.
Just for chairs. And then, yeah, so thankfully the entertainment units and these side tables were very simple to get. But yeah, so we ended up, we went, she's like, okay, they're coming in on Tuesday and you have to pick them up because we don't have space to store them here. It's like, well, I'm in Fargo, so that means that if you get them on Tuesday, I need to be there on Tuesday with the U-Haul ready to go.
Right.
And so thankfully it all worked out, but it was just like such a nightmare to get down there, rent out a U-Haul, bring it back. And then because we got snowed in down there, because, it's the upper Midwest, we ended up spending an extra day down in the city. So the U-Haul got delayed for its return date. So we got charged the overnight fee. It was like stupid, but yeah. So anyways, yeah, long story short, we're all here now. And then it's like, okay, we got him in, we came in on Tuesday, got him, brought him here Thursday. And then within a week, by the next Thursday, we did our Fargo Game Makers meetup here. And I had all the chairs and stuff built by then. And
nice.
So, it's IKEA, so you had to build it all.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, all the tables, all the entertainment units, the chairs were all built by that next Thursday. And it was primarily just me doing it, 14-hour day shifts kind of thing to get them put together. So,
so if I ever need some IKEA furniture built,
right, don't call me. I'm good for a while.
So when it comes to the consoles, the TVs, the environment that you have, I mean, my favorite thing is always the games. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your library of games. What do you have? What is popular? What are a lot of people playing?
Yeah, it's funny too because if they're kids that are, teenage, they're going to play Fortnite, which we get a lot of jokes because it's like, you have that at home. It's a free game. It's a free game. Yeah. Why come here and pay money to, but it is cool to bring back that couch gaming environment. So they're able to play with each other. I have all my consoles set up for Fortnite for the Switches, PS4s, and Xbox Ones. Plus they're cross-platform compatible. So you can play a Switch with a PS4, which is really cool. And so, yeah, we can do up to 12 Fortnite consoles here. So like I said, they're able to play with each other and they're not just screaming at each other through the interweb somewhere.
They can hit each other.
They can actually punch each other.
Yes. Which
the way gaming should be.
Yes, exactly. And so But popular game wise, I mean, with each console, they have their heavy hitters. Nintendo's always going to be a Mario title or Zelda title. Segue for that is I had a kid come in the other day that he wanted to play Zelda for the Xbox, and I was like, does not exist. But if you want, it was like, he's like, I want to play Zelda, and then I go, which Zelda? There's like 17 of them.
Pick one.
I have them all, but which one do you want to play? Actually, that's a lie. I don't have the Oracle ones, but anyways, he's like, I just want to play Legend of Zelda. I was like, okay, do you want to play the original one? And I know how this is going to go. And so, we set him up on a regular Nintendo playing some Legend of Zelda, and about 2 minutes later he came up, he's like, do you got a newer one?
Anything that looks like normal.
So I put him on Breath of the Wild, and he had fun with that, but it was just hilarious. I was like, I want to play Zelda. I was like, okay, let's narrow that a little bit. So,
right.
But no, we got, what are we at? 4,700 games now. So almost 5,000. When I started the store with my personal collection, I had 1,700 games, which a lot of them were going to be the crappy sports titles, right? So those are easy to get. But we do have a couple of the big ones. I wish I had an American version, but I do have Rockman X3, so Mega Man X3. Yep. It's like a $200 cartridge kind of thing. We got Valkyrie Profile 2 for PlayStation 1. The nice thing is we have that one complete with manual too, so that's always fun. Random things that showed up was we got the disc for Blood Will Tell, like a $90 disc. I just couldn't believe that one. Harvest Moon for the Super Nintendo showed up, so that was my cost alone was like $117 on that one. So, and it's like a $200 cartridge kind of thing. So
anything that's in your library of games, are you selling that as well, or is it just strictly I'm going to hang on to these for the store? Yeah,
so that's what creates a unique business model for us. Is that when we do a trade-in, we offer a lot for a game, 60% value for a game we don't have already. And so with that, those ones go to the arcade, and they're for the arcade. The only way that they leave the store is through rentals. And so we rent games for $8 a week. With a game like Harvest Moon, you're definitely going to be putting down a deposit for that one because we want it to come back.
Right.
But again, it's like, it's a community supported store. So we want our members to treat the store as if it's their own, because it's not just my store, it's our store. We have that unique business model because we spend money, that's a business expense to buy a game. Well, we're offering 60% value. Well, then 40% profit margin theoretically there means that we're instantly getting equity into the store. So it's just a really different kind of business model. Whereas you think about GameStop, all their equity is what they're trying to sell merchandise wise. Toys, a little bit of a segue is Toys R Us. They're doing well still as far as the corporation goes because they were able to sell themselves to a private equity investor that bought all those store physical locations. GameStop doesn't have that doesn't have that luxury kind of thing. So we were kind of intentional about how we're going to build this store and not go that route. So the arcade is able to be a fixed equity asset for us, and so we're able to take in new games like that pretty consistently from the demographic, the community here. And so when it's a game that we already have, we offer 30% value. So, and as far as I know, that's still like 3 times more than anybody else in the area. Yeah. So, especially for cash.
So if anybody wants to do that, they just got to call and be like, do you have this game?
If they want to play that game, I mean, it works out for both parties.
Right, sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we also list all of our games on our website too, that people could be like, oh, he doesn't have this game listed. It must be, and part of it is we're in the middle between 2 different plugins for our inventory. But theoretically, you could try to rig that game if you wanted to. But like I said, it's going to be beneficial for both parties either way.
Yeah. Do you do like a store credit value at all, or is that always just cash?
So it's 60% and 30% based on if we have it or not. And then if you want the credit, you get a 25% kicker bonus.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So, 30% and 25% on top of that. It's not 55%, but it's whatever, if it was a $10 was your 30% value, well, then you get another $2.50 on top of that. So
it's a great deal. And I like the way you've, obviously, through the podcast, you can't see it, but I like the way you've inventoried that. Mm-hmm. Like you get the tablets up front, like sort by genre system.
You can browse it at home on your phones or whatever. Yeah. So and that's the hardest part is there's not a good plugin for, because we're also an import store, we have a bunch of Japanese titles that there's not a good plugin that handles both sides of that. So we ended up finding a plugin that's using the International Games Database or Internet Games Database, IGDB anyways. And the great thing about that is it's a community curated website, so they have both sides of that. So we're able to showcase, these games are the Japanese games, these ones are the American games. But the problem is when you have 4,700 games and you have to enter them manually one at a time.
Oh my gosh.
It takes forever to convert it because we had 3,600 listed on the other one. And so we're slowly converting it over. And like I think we just finished PS2 or PS1. I think it was PS2. And that's our largest library at like 700 games. And that one took us like 6 weeks probably of pretty dedicated time to it. And then, of course, with any kind of project, you have your burnouts. And so it's like, I'm kind of sick of that plugin right now. And we do consistently get new trade-ins and stuff like that. So it's like all these new games that are coming in. I wait for a batch of 50 and I process it through and make a post on Facebook that, hey, new games just came in. And then I also at that same point will convert that to the new plugin, but they're not going into the old plugin. And so that's the one problem that we have right now is it's hard to see the difference between the two plugins. And so it's just one of those, quality of life things that we'll get to eventually, especially when there's only legitimately 2 people working the store. So, but yeah, so like I started with 1,700 games in my personal collection. We had a few people donate a couple hundred games into they're like, hey, I love this idea. Take these games that I don't necessarily want to hold on to, and if I want to play them, I'll come in. So that's really cool.
Which don't tell my wife that. She'd be like, wait, you can just play those games? Yeah. You don't need them?
Don't listen.
Dang it. I love that. Replay Games is really, it's community driven and it's kind of a one-stop shop for every, like you can come play games, you can buy games, you can rent games, which I didn't even know about. That's amazing.
Well, you've always been really, with the community focus, great about opening the doors. Like this isn't the first time we've recorded here.
Right.
Like you've opened the door and let us come in and do some other stuff for the podcast.
Yeah, we do the Fargo Game Maker stuff that we meet in, and we've had other people that is like, hey, can I bring my board game in and play with my buddies? It's nice. Yeah, go for it. So I mean, we want to utilize the space as much as possible. So we do birthday parties and corporate events if you want to bring in alcohol and stuff like that. We've done 6 bachelor parties. So
really?
Yeah. Nice. So it's just been really cool to see what the community brings in for that too. And then we do goofy things like, it's like, what is it, June 31st or something like that is Harry Potter's birthday. So we had a Harry Potter day. So I had like as many stations as possible hooked up with Harry Potter. And so like I even have a couple, like if you want to play Japanese Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone, like for the PS1. Yes, it's actually called the Philosopher's Stone in the UK apparently. So, but, or at least in Japan, I should say. But, yeah. And then we had like trivia Harry Potter up on the TVs and stuff like that. So, awesome. But yeah, and so it's like I said, people are interested in this idea. They're excited for this idea. So we've had people that will just donate games, kind of good life it kind of to us, goodwill, I should say. When we by the time we're getting ready to open the store, we probably had close to 2,000 games in our inventory. But we got lucky too, where I was still working on the business plan, and you want to talk about putting skin into the game early on. Cashway's Video closed, which is a local rental store that I think was the last one or close to the last one. So
nearly, and maybe Premiere.
Yeah, they're close to the same time. But anyways, I think I bought 600 games from them for like $5 a piece, kind of thing. So that was a pretty good money investment there. Right. And we didn't even know if we had a store yet, kind of thing. Sure. But we got a ton of games between the current gen and the previous generation of games for $5-6 a piece. So it was a really good way to get a nice boost on, especially like I personally don't care for Microsoft products. I don't care for the Xbox One, but especially from the store's perspective, it's just harder to work with the Xbox Ones as far as their policy schemes and stuff go. There's a couple of good points I have on them, but I can talk about that later. But anyways, so it was nice to get a nice little starting inventory for those consoles that I didn't have. Because then, like you talk about, like how do you get an inventory for all these different systems when you got 40 years of gaming and there's 17,000 plus physical release titles out there. And so like we don't even have a third of that yet. But anyways, Sam's Club in Moorhead closed, and so we got a bunch of games that were brand new, still sealed, for 50 to 75% off. Toys R Us closed. I talked about that, so I got a bunch more games for 50 to 75% off. So I definitely went over budget of our initial budget for buying games, but I think it's definitely helped just expand the store quicker. So when we were finally opening the store, like I said, we were maybe on the cusp of 2,000 games getting ready to open. And then after all that was said and done, we were at 3,600 games. And the last luck of the draw type deal is working on starting to purchase some of the games that we definitely wanted to have for the arcade through eBay and JJ Games and stuff like that, price charting. We ended up getting this tip that a guy in New York was closing his store, and it was a video game store. He had a bunch of import titles as well, and he had it listed on eBay for $12,000. I was like, man, that's like 3,500 games. It was going to average like $2 to $3 a piece, plus I think 3 or 4 dozen consoles. And like I said, it's a mix between everything. And so I was like, do I want to try to just bid war this? Because I think the bid was like $8,000 and the buy now is $12,000. And I let it sit for like 7 days. And he had a 13-day listing on it, and nobody was bidding on it yet, but I was still scared to just put the $8,000 down. So
as most people would,
yeah. And so we didn't want to risk, because as soon as somebody bids on something, then you can't buy it anymore. Sure. So I was just like, you know what? Let's buy it for $2 or $3 a game. We can see what we get, and we did the $12,000 purchase, and so that was a lot of money very quickly. But it worked out really well. Like I said, I think we got about 3,200 games out of it. So we were able to open the store with 3,600 unique titles, and we had about 1,800 ready for sale. So,
and that's what it really is all about. I mean, that's what drives your business, anyways. Are the games that people are playing. So
and so we got a couple of those rare titles. And that lot came with that Valkyrie profile too. So like I said, complete in box. That's $280 right there. And then I got Rockman X1, 2, and 3 with Rockman 7 and Soccer for the Super Nintendo. Like collectively, they're like $1,300, and I think I spent $250 on eBay with that. So like that was a pretty sweet steal. Nice. So yeah. And I mean, like, you don't really need to know Japanese to play those games. So if you really need, you can get a transcript online or whatever. But there's very little story; it's all gameplay in those. So, but so that was really cool. And when it comes to popular games, it's really going to be those heavy hitters. Mario Kart, GoldenEye, those ones are huge on the 64. Classics, exactly. The Super Mario All-Stars is a good one for the Super Nintendo. We actually have the Super Mario All-Stars Plus World cartridge, so that's a little bit more of a unique cartridge too.
And you're bringing new things in all the time. Exactly. I mean, I saw you post when Mortal Kombat came out. Yeah, you jumped on that. Yeah. You said when I walked in here tonight, you got a new Switch game that you were checking out. So
so we try to get, especially it's hard to pre-order games anymore, just because do you jump on the hype train or not? Right. There's so many games that are coming out that get talked up so much, then they're just a huge letdown. And Anthem, So
that you bring up an interesting point there with like a game like Anthem is a perfect example. Like that has to be a pain for you, because you've got to get these games, get them installed, and then the day one mega patch it has to be a nightmare.
So update Tuesday is kind of how it goes. Okay. The nice thing is most of the games are good at self-updating, but then the switches are weird. It's like they're all set to self-update, but they only do like the first 12 in your most recently played. If it's past that point, they won't update. Okay. So it's really weird. And Xbox One is like hit or miss. And then some games, like every now and then there's an update for Fortnite that you have to manually update it. It's annoying when usually they're only like maybe 10 gigs at the most, but it's still annoying when you got a customer ready to play now, and it's like, you have to wait 10 minutes for it to download. And
you have multiple TVs that have to do it, and multiple consoles.
Yeah. So that's one of the, back in the good old days, you just pop the cartridge in and you play it. So, but a good example for not Anthem, but Fallout 76. Like I was expecting that one to fly off the shelf, so I bought a couple extra ones to sell, as well as Red Dead Redemption 2 and Soul Calibur 6. They're still sitting there, and there's no way I'm going to get $60 for them. And my cost is $51 as a vendor, and so it's like I'm trying to sell Fallout 76 for like $30 now, and it's still sitting there. Sure. And so it's like I'm not going to get my money out of it. So it's like we're changing our policy a little bit. That's if you want a new game, we'll split that vendor discount for you, but we have to pre-order it or special order it for you. But it's like we're not going to buy every new game that comes out, because we don't know what people are going to be interested in, for one. But then two, it's like a lot of people don't buy games day one anymore because they want to see what the hype is all about. So one of the games that we need to get picked up is like, Days Gone. Oh, that one's been getting a lot of headway and excitement, I should say, around it. And so it's like, okay, I should have gotten that one, but like I said, how do you know? So
No, that's a good point. You got to balance it out a little bit.
Yeah. So, it's like I'm a pretty well-rounded gamer. I will play anything from role-playing games to sports titles. I kind of just dabble between everything. And so it's like if I find it's interesting, I'll pick it up for the store. But unless somebody's requesting it a lot, I'll just let it sit there kind of thing. Especially because, like I said, it's going to sit there for however many months.
You're stuck with it, yeah.
Although it is pretty funny that I got a couple of high school kids that are really good at, we want to play your weirdest game. And I was like, well, have you played Dora Saves the Crystal Kingdom for the Wii? And so, we get these high school boys playing these games kind of thing. It's hilarious.
Awesome.
They're actually a favorite in that category is Cold Stone Creamery. Scoop It Up for the Wii.
Okay, I was going to say this.
I didn't even know it. I didn't even know that.
It's like a poor job simulator. You use two of your Wii remotes, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like literally your left and right hand, and you have to get the ice cream.
Oh my gosh. They're training.
Exactly.
It's just customer training.
And so what's hilarious though is these guys that are, of course, they're like, okay, I'm going to be the left hand, you be the right hand, right?
Oh gosh.
So that's pretty hilarious.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and it's because of those kind of customers though that it justifies any purchase that we make because I might have spent 30 cents on this game that no one's going to play, but it just got to get played once.
Yeah.
And it makes its money back. So
right.
Derby Stallion for the PS2 has been played twice. I've got my money out of that kind of thing. So
yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, one question, I don't know. What would you say the average length of time someone sits and plays a game?
It's a good question because we bill everything off the hours. So minimum an hour charge, and then after we actually are really forgiving with how we do our hours. The closest competitor we have in town is Section 9, and I know that they're a little bit more rigid with their time stuff, and so we're very loose with it. So we will, if it's 7:55 right now, I'll start your time at 8 o'clock. Not to mention that my clocks are intentionally slower to give you more time kind of thing. And so, yeah, we give you a 5-minute boost there just to, sometimes it's hard to pick a game or, if we're really busy, it takes a second to get the game set up for you. But then also after a 10-minute grace of the next hour, we'll automatically go to the second hour. So we build in a 10-minute buffer because I know the conversation of, come on, kids, we need to go. And, oh, hold on, I need to find a save point. It's like you're playing an online game. It saves automatically. Let's go.
Right.
But I remember the PS1 days especially where it might take you 25 minutes to get to your next save point and hopefully you don't die by then.
Right.
So we're really loose on that. And then, even if it's 11, 12 minutes or whatever, I'm not going to be a stickler about it. It's actually hilarious how many times a parent will be like, isn't it more or whatever? And I was like, nope, you're only here for, 62 minutes, but I'm not going to charge you a second hour for that. The only time that I'll ever break down an hour is at the end of the day. If you come in within an hour of closing, I'll just charge you for, if you're here for a half hour, I'll just charge you for a half hour.
Yeah.
But any other time, you pay by the hour. So,
okay.
But yeah, it's funny too because when we first opened the store, we were doing $3 and $4 an hour based on Tuesday through Thursday or Friday, Saturday with the weekend. That our weekends are just much busier. That it was okay, so we'd get kids that come in with $3 exactly. Well, it's $3.23 with the sales tax. And so it was a really funny conversation I had with Section 9 because I try to be on really good terms with them just because we want to support each other, being that they're doing the more hardcore player versus player stuff. And they get hounded, harassed about increasing their prices. And we came to the turn of the year for the new tax season this year. It's let's make it simpler for the customers. We'll include the sales tax now. Yep. So it's $4 and $5 an hour. Sure. And we got praised for it. People were excited that we increased our prices. They want to see the store stick around. And so they knew that part of that was for, increasing our prices was necessary. And so,
and it's still very reasonable.
Exactly.
It's not you can't go anywhere else and spend $4 and have an hour of entertainment.
Exactly. So we get a family of 5 come in here and they're spending $20 an hour and they're getting their value out of it kind of thing. We get a lot of dads that like to show their sons like super Tech Mobile or whatever.
Sure.
And live those glory days kind of thing. And we have a couple CRTs, specifically for duck hunt kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like we focus on that younger family where mom and dad gamed a little bit growing up. In some instances, grandma's the gamer in the family, which was really, I'll tell you that story in a second. But so we offer that common ground for them to come here to check things out. And the kids go to play Fortnite, right? And the parents want to play Duck Hunt or Mario or whatever. I had this hilarious conversation with a mom brought her two boys in, and she was like, so you guys using emulators or anything like that? And I was just like, I try not to be stereotypical with any of my conversations, but when you get to like that kind of conversation, it was one of those where it's like I didn't point her out to be a gamer at all. So let alone when she throws out a jargon term like emulation, I was like, nope, it's all original hardware. And I tried to like, do you play games at home? She's like, no. Okay. Like I'm trying to like pry some information out of this person or whatever. And so she ends up leaving the two boys there for a little bit and came back later. And as the boys were there, I was like, so how do you know? Because the one boy asked specifically for Donkey Kong for the 64, which is a very unique title for requesting from somebody that age.
Right.
So I was asking, like, so how come you wanted to play the 64? He's like, oh, my grandma's plays a bunch of games. And it's like, so yeah, when the mom came back, I was talking to her, and yeah, her mom is a huge gamer. She had to, for the family, she'd buy the console, like the Super Nintendo, for instance. She bought one for her and her brother, and then she bought her own console for her. This was her console. So the family can use that console, but nobody touches her console.
I love that.
So it's hilarious that is like for her daughter and the siblings that they had a separate console. So grandma was the big gamer, which is very cool and unique. So, nice. But and then like I said, that community stuff too. I mean, we had a family come all the way from Carrington to celebrate a birthday in Fargo at Replay Games.
Yeah, that's awesome. Which
and
is what, 3 hours or two and a half hours?
So,
2.5 hours
it's just
away.
on the other side of Jamestown.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
and so that was really like surprise reward kind of thing. I was not expecting that kind of commitment or comment kind of thing. Also, like with the corporate events, like we had I guess you could call it a team building exercise where just in overhearing somebody talking to another coworker about it, it's like, this is probably one of the better team building events that we've had. And like, that wasn't even directed at me, which was really cool that I just kind of overheard this conversation.
Yep. I mean, video games or escape room, that's a pretty easy decision.
Yeah. So it's really fun to, just the conversations we have with people and stuff like that. So, and just kind of validates, the conversations I had with the first couple of banks and stuff like that said no, or, the one guy laughed in my face about the idea and stuff. And so it's just like, we're really focused on creating that community. And it's one of those that they could not see that kind of thing. They didn't understand what that kind of community looks like, let alone, I don't know if for being community sponsored banks, they didn't seem to understand community kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's just been fantastic to see the response we've gotten for this kind of idea. And it's like, I wanted to, when you're creating your own business or whatever, you have an idea about something, you want that fantasy dream of like, this is going to be a big thing or whatever. And so like, of course I want this store to blow up and be huge, but at the same time you have to think realistically, especially when you're approaching a bank about it. And like I said, we had it written into our business plan. If this fails kind of thing, what's going to happen? Sure. And I mean, we're still not making it yet, but we've seen the promise that the store has been able to provide so far. And then coming into our second summer now, where last summer we just had nothing but growth, and then we kind of died down a little bit with the school year picking up, and lives get busy in the fall and stuff like that. And then as soon as we got out of the cold season in the winter, like we were just booming back to business again. So it's like, okay, we're really excited to see what this summer brings us. So
yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, very awesome.
Well, I know we've enjoyed stopping in when we can. And so for anyone listening, how do they get in touch with you? Contact info, location, hours?
So Replay Games is located on the corner of 5th Street and 1st Avenue North. Our exact address is 502 1st Avenue North. We joke that we're down in the basement because why play in your parents' basement when you could play in ours? And then we're on the website, www.replaygames.us. Because .com was taken. But anyways, you can feel free to call 701-478-4263. Easier way to remember that is 478-GAME.
Nice.
And then 702 was really good at hooking us up with that. So which we got nice fiber internet here too, so that's always helpul. And then if they wanted to email me at all, I check my email pretty regularly. It's cj@replaygames.us. So
Okay. And then Twitter, Facebook, any of that
all
stuff?
the social media,
All the social
just
media,
Google
Replay Games.
You should see it. So
Okay.
we've
Awesome.
been really strong with our social media games. So
Yeah, definitely.
So.
I'm always seeing new posts.
Yeah.
So.
And we get really creative too about some of the stuff too, especially with being a family-owned business, and like my wife is a part of like the Lady Boss group and stuff like that. So
Sure.
just kind of that entrepreneurial stuff going on. So
Right. Yeah, well, thanks for taking the time to sit down with us, letting us invade your space once again.
Well, it's so funny when people are like, "Can I take pictures?" And it's like, I would kick you out if you didn't take pictures, right? So
They're like hiding their cameras.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just like, I had a customer come in yesterday. He had a friend with him, and he's like, "Can I just pay for an hour to show her around?" I was like, "You could just show her around, like
Walk around.
You only pay for playing, so it's looking is free." So
That's awesome.
I appreciated that he was conscientious about that, but they're just like, "Yeah, don't worry about it, dude."
Okay, moving on to the fail bag, where we answer 20-year-old questions from old gaming magazines as if they were addressed to us. I am in Old Nintendo Power of June 1993. They had a contest, and I just wanted to state that this seems like the weirdest contest in the world of what this person won. As the winner of last September's Players Polled contest, Kelly Kinder received a Miracle Piano teaching system, complete with the Super NES, and flew to Hollywood to meet rappers DJ Jazzy Jeff, Jet, and the Fresh Prince.
All right.
How does the Miracle Piano tie into that at all?
Exactly. Yeah. Then they went to Disneyland, a couple other things, but yeah, like
That's kind of amazing. Meet the Fresh Prince and you go to Disneyland.
And you get a Miracle Piano.
there might be. Can you imagine? There might be an autographed Will Smith Miracle Piano out there.
Oh my gosh.
That would be awesome.
Please, let's scour the internet.
If I ever see him in concert, let's it's not going to happen, but if I do, I'm going to be carrying this giant Miracle Piano box. Can you sign this? I read in a magazine back in 1993 that you love these things.
I think the saddest part of this story is just the fact that this young girl peaked. This was undoubtedly the best day of her life, and she's just a child. I mean, it was all downhill from there. She's probably a crack whore now. 6 kids from 12 different dads. I
gotta haul that piano everywhere.
Well, at least she can play it on street corners. Good enough for a cheeseburger. Oh, God.
Just does she do like Will Smith covers, like the whole Willennium?
It'd be amazing.
She's definitely getting jiggy with it.
Well, and the sad part is Jazzy Jeff's probably right there with her. He's still doing backup.
He's part of the band.
And he possibly the dad of one of those 6 kids. We're not sure. At least she had her moment in the sun, I guess.
She got her miracle. Oh.
That was like a perfect tagline. Good job.
Brian from Calgary, he says, I recently tried Mario Paint, and I must say I am exceedingly impressed. I think a Mario Paint player's guide would be wonderful and a best-selling book.
A player's
How do you
guide?
get a player's guide for drawing? Do you go to the Crayola factory and ask for a player guide? What the fuck?
That is
Yeah,
the
that was-
weirdest request. Not the latest RPG I'm playing that I need the strategy guide. I need to figure out this Mario Paint. This is intense.
How do I draw a puppy? This just blows my mind. I need the tutorial.
I think I'd have to go back and look through my Nintendo Powers. I think there's a Mario Paint one.
Yeah, there's a feature.
And I don't know if I've ever read what is happening with it. That would be very entertaining on how they play up this clip art game.
I just don't
yeah, I would
recall.
love to see a guide for it.
That'd be great. I just don't recall anyone like playing that game as a child and being like, "This is fantastic!" Like, what? I mean, maybe I was alone and thinking like, "Oh, that's a thing," but it just never caught my attention. I guess, other than the Fly Swatter game or like making the horrible soundtracks, as we talked about before.
Which, how are you going to put it in a guide? Are you going to explain like, what the
Right.
dog makes this noise?
It's cat, dog, dog, cat. Masterpiece.
It's just like just a book full of tabs for.
Yes, this could be awesome. Now I think he might be onto something. First, I thought he was an idiot.
I was trying to think of like the thickness of that booklet. It would just be like a front and back like piece of paper.
No, man, it'd be like the old yellow pages you get thrown on your doorstep. It's like 800 pages, and it's like, why do I need all this? I don't know, but there's a coupon discount code to Domino's Pizza. This is fantastic.
That is the weirdest request I'm pretty sure I've heard.
Hmm.
I need to check if they have one because in the answer, oh my gosh, there is one.
What? No.
There's a real Mario
Player's
Paint
guide?
Yep.
Oh, how the hell?
What? It's on Walmart for $195. Okay.
Oh my gosh, there was. That is ridiculous. This is got to be one of those like in between episode things though, right? From Nintendo Power? Maybe not.
Yeah, it's probably like one of
It
those
looks
things.
like one. Yeah, it looks kind of like they did one for the Super Game Boy. This is kind of what it looks like. Interesting. It probably just tells you about dumb shit.
I'm
Huh.
looking at it now. They
It's
definitely
art,
have.
Ryan. It's art.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Easy.
Sorry.
Yeah, they just tell you how to make things.
Change
how to make
from
Mario
the
and
brush to the pencil.
Or how to make music or Mario music.
Wow. That's super lame. And I can't believe it exists.
Not lame. It's disappointing. That is a low point in Nintendo's history right there.
But now we know how to make Zangief.
Well, good. My life is complete now.
Wow. So like one of those things where they just got that message and they're like, yeah, why not? One guy wants it. At least one person's going to get it.
I'm sure they're like, well,
Make
it's
it.
first party. Mario's on the title, so we can sell a bunch of these. So
Yep. There's got to be a thriving scene though for Mario Paint on the internet, right? There's got to be a corner that you can go to.
oh, there's like a subreddit somewhere, or like
Yeah.
10 of them.
And definitely has like all the music where to put it for like Linkin Park songs or something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure that exists. Definitely.
Peter from Vancouver, Canada says, I read in the June and July issues of Nintendo Power that the Super NES is coming to the US this fall. Sure sounds great. Will they be sold in Canada this fall too?
No.
No, you damn Canadian bastard. Of course it'll be in Canada. Doesn't stuff usually end up in Canada and the US at the same time?
It usually does North America, yeah.
Back
In this
then,
case,
though,
it
didn't some of that stuff even hit Canada first?
Yeah, what was that?
I thought
A
there
couple
were
of,
examples where Canada got stuff ahead of us.
Yeah. There was certainly a Wii, right? The Wii Mini.
Oh, and
was in
that, yeah,
Canada
that's
for a
right.
long
That
time.
finally came down here. The disappointing
Yeah.
Wii Mini.
But, yeah, it was the next year. It came out in Canada. So they kind of got screwed on that one.
Oh, it was delayed. That's a bummer.
They were jumping
we
the
got
border, though, for it. You know they were.
Oh, that's true. Like, this is pre 9/11. You could literally just stroll across and like grab one at a Walmart. And
What is your purpose of crossing the border? Just getting a Super Nintendo. Carry on.
we understand. Can you get me a copy of Super Metroid? I'd appreciate it.
No, nobody has them.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose anyone who really wanted them got them anyway.
Yeah.
You know, there was some guy bootlegging them, or just like moonshine crossing over the border, like got a truck full.
Yeah, he like shows up. He's like flips up tailgate on his truck, and like, all right, you get the Labatt Blue. All right, here's your Super Nintendo. Nice to do business with you, like under the cover of night, all secretive.
Because all Canadians drink Labatt Blue.
It's a fine beer. I don't know if they all drink it, but I just like it a lot.
Do you really?
Yeah, well, I actually like Labatt Blue Light. Like,
is it a Canadian beer? It is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
It's a good.
Yeah, you know what the Canadians say. It's a good.
Yeah,
it's good, eh?
for our Canadian listeners here, we are not being insensitive to you at all.
Considering where we live, we're
practically Canadian.
Yeah, we could spit on the border. Well, that's not quite.
We
true,
probably
we're
probably offended them by saying we're pretty much Canadian.
You're like, no, you American trash. What are you talking about? Don't associate with us.
I'm just apologizing to our listeners all over the country.
I worked at a factory that made ketchup chips, so at least I'm in.
Oh yeah, you're pretty much Canadian at that point.
Yeah.
Did they sell them in the U.S.? I've never seen ketchup chips in the U.S.
Oh yeah, they made them. Yeah.
Huh.
And then they quickly stopped making them because they realized that doesn't sell here.
Yeah, I've never really got the whole ketchup chip thing. Like, I've tried it when I've been up in Canada because it seems to be the thing to do, but I like plain potato chips dipped in ketchup, but ketchup chips just don't work. I'm sorry, Canada. But your poutine and your Labatt Blue Light are delicious. I could live on that.
Alone, because nobody would be next to you with that.
Well, that's true. I don't know. I've singed every nostril that nose hair that my wife has, so I could pretty much eat anything at this point.
You've singed my hair too, so.
So it's interesting though. There was an actual discrepancy in dates. It's funny. Usually it's so uniform.
Yeah. Well, it's just so strange. Well, like back then, it was just like anything that they made, they tried to sell it right away, Like they didn't stock up and make a big of a, launch anything. It was like,
right.
Hey, Zelda's out. We're still making them and we'll sell them when they're made, but.
Yeah, that's right. That was back in the days of like batches. Yeah. Like you had to try and catch it when reprints came back out.
That's why you always pre-order video games.
Did you pre-order games back then?
I think so. Some places, yeah. Probably like the mom and pop things.
I feel like I never had an issue getting a game as a kid. I went in and pointed to them all and got it. So
yeah, but were you like the kid who was like hardcore about like reading when a game was coming out in Nintendo Power and like, I want this particular game? I mean, you weren't, right? You just kind of went to the store and were like, it's in front of me, I want that.
Essentially. Yeah. I mean, I did read some in the magazine But yeah, it was pretty much pointing or pulling the tab for one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't I don't know when I ever got to the point where I had to pre-order. I mean, it must have been when I was in college. Because yeah, like you said, it's just you heard about a game and you went and bought it. And I never researched any fringe RPGs or anything, so it wasn't ever hard for me.
Yeah.
What's the last pre-order game that you've done? I'm trying to remember the last pre-order game I had.
Oh, jeez.
Probably something on the Switch. Maybe Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, okay. That's the last one I pre-ordered too. Yeah, because I got it for the Wii U and I wanted it at launch day, and Best Buy was doing a midnight opening, so I cut right through the line, grabbed the only Wii U copy that anybody wanted. Yep. I even had to tell the guy he threw the Switch version in front of me. I'm like, no, Wii U.
You don't understand.
And then everybody sat in line waiting to buy their Switches for an hour and a half, and I happily.
So how did you go about pre-ordering games back then? You would just go in a store and say, "I want this game." That was the process.
Yeah, I think it was on slips, if I remember right. When they got in, they had notes, pretty much waiting lists.
Really, and that would drive their whatever they're ordering, and then
whenever it came in, they'd call.
I don't ever remember anybody even trying to sell that to you, like KB Toys or anything. Pre-order this game. Yeah. I don't remember any of that.
I mean, I think it's a little hard to tell on any of that because, literally, I grew up in a town that was so small that nobody sold video games. I had to go to my coast-to-coast hardware store and point in a catalog and ask them to order the game in. Or your Sears, not Sears, but your JCPenney catalog store. Literally, that's where I had to go to place my game orders. So I guess it never.
That's kind of pre-ordering.
Yeah, kind of. I'll take B23, please. It's only $29.99 right now.
Well, and that's the other thing. I'm sure I went to the store many times with a game in mind. And if they didn't have it, it's not like I'm just going to walk out and be bummed. I'm like, no, I'll just pick a different one, right?
Yeah, that's usually how
something.
I usually ended up more bummed because I would pick. I was the kind of person I'd go in with something in mind, and then I'd be drawn to the bargain bin. I'm like, well, I could get this really awesome game, but Bobby's got it down the street, so I could buy 3 of these games, and you take them all home, and there's all shit. And I was the type of kid I would literally get sick to my stomach with regret at poor purchasing. I'm like, I wasted my hard-earned allowance money. I want to go throw up, and I would make myself throw up because I would just get so worked up about it. So I should have pre-ordered good games instead of buying bargain bin trash. Luckily, if you walk back into small town stores and say a game doesn't work, a lot of people take them back. I mean, it happened once or twice.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Bubsy 2 got returned. Just throwing it out there.
I remember that story. I love it.
Yeah, they didn't really nail down the return policies at that point.
Nah.
There's probably a couple pallets of Bubsy 2 somewhere that were returned and they didn't know what to do with them after that.
Lit them on fire, hopefully.
Hey, it's official. Mayor Tom Bradley officially declared November 5th, 1991 as Nintendo Fun Day in Los Angeles.
Nice.
How do they celebrate it?
Is it still on the calendar?
We should just celebrate that every year.
Yeah.
Nintendo Fun Day.
I could pretty much just do that's my life, I guess. I could just say
every day I celebrate that.
Nintendo Fun Day. Well, what do you do for Nintendo Fun Day? I don't know. Microwave,
play Sega Genesis,
play with my ding dong. What do you do? I don't know.
Whoa!
You look at the games on the shelf.
Caress myself. Nintendo Fun Day.
Pages of
not
your
too
Nintendo
fast, though.
Power sticking
you get the
together.
whole day. You gotta really draw it out. You gotta just slowly fondle it. You don't want to overdo it and blow your load too soon.
All over that Mario Paint strategy guide.
You got all day. I don't know about you guys, but after Nintendo Fun Day, I'm super dehydrated the next day. It's just exhausting. Then I got to spend the rest of the year trying to get my Nintendo Power pages unstuck. It's a problem.
Who said Nintendo didn't have blast processing?
That's right, giggity. I shot Rob's eye out one year. True story.
Oh,
poor
the Rob money shot.
Yeah, we found the true reason for those visors that come with them. That's good stuff.
Got your power glove on one hand. Oh my gosh. So many details. So many details.
We got to stop this before we're putting controllers up our ass again.
No, well, this is just getting good. Oh god, I loved when Musty Hobbit or Second Breakfast when we ran into him at MGC this year. Like, I don't know if was it me and Nate, I think, and then he instantly brought up a controller that we forgot to mention to put up our ass. I was like, damn it. I'm like, how could we have forgotten about that? I think it was like the Katana maybe for one of those games. But I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that is brilliant. I'm like, and I'm saddened that our stupidity
we don't
is
literally put the controller
seep its way into your brain that
where you actually think about it more.
Yes.
Off the air.
I feel bad for our listeners. We're sorry. We don't intend to make you dumber. It is a consequence of listening to Weekend Rental though. That's why we're only every 2 weeks. If it was every week, it'd be too much.
There would be some mental instability for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen from Albuquerque, he's wondering, why aren't there any good games coming out for the NES now? I don't have a Super NES.
What year is this?
92.
Oh. Wasn't there some good stuff?
Yeah,
things were getting better.
Buy anything that said Taito on there.
Yeah, pick up Bonk, pick up Panic Restaurant, pick up Little Samson.
1994 was the last one, right?
Wario's Woods.
Is that 94 or 95? 94.
Let's find out.
I mean, a lot of games from that 92, 93, there's some really solid titles that are very expensive now. But
yeah, 94, February of 94. So basically, 93 was the last real year that anything was released. But yeah, I mean, it was a weird time because it wasn't so much that games weren't coming out that were good, because like you said, Taito made stuff, but obviously the batches were smaller and then the shelf space just didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
There was always room for Game Boy stuff, but it seemed like a lot of those retailers were phasing out shelf space for NES. I mean, it was
that's true.
There wasn't much there. I remember that brief window when they had the repackaged top loader and the big sticker on the box, like $49.99 next to your Super Nintendo. And you just remember being a kid and looking at that and be like, that's so stupid. Why would I buy that stupid $50 for Nintendo? That's crap. And now it's like, oh, I would kill to have a brand new in-box.
Well, when I posted that, so on Twitter, I posted a Funko Land ad. And I said, okay, you have $30. What are you going to pick? And it was funny, like Stadium Events on there was 39 cents. And I don't know. It just was crazy, the prices and the discount prices. I was like, man, can you imagine if that was
Funko
today? Land. And so awesome.
That's what
I can't believe how cheap those, like a lot of those were. They were like all under $1. It was nuts. Yeah,
that's like, I just remember like there's been some content from Cinemassacre, like the James and Mike Mondays and stuff, and like Mike has said like he basically went to his Funko Lands in his area like when they were fire selling that stuff, and literally he was filling trash bags because the bags were not enough, so they would fill like full trash bags. You'd buy these games for like next to nothing and walk out, and that's how he like built up this amazing collection, because he was one of the people who had the like foresight to do it. I mean, could you
And a little
imagine
money,
what
too.
$2,000 at Funkoland then would have garnered you now?
Holy cow.
You'd have so much. Yeah. NES, Super. I mean, you could have gotten everything.
Yeah. I guess we didn't answer his question, but I guess like the real answer should be just don't worry about what's coming out new. Like, it's got a great catalog and backlog, and you can't have had all of them. Go to Funkoland, take $30. You're gonna come home happy.
Yep. Or just buy Super Nintendo because they're pretty cool too.
They are.
Have you seen Mario World? Come on.
I hear there's this game called Mario Paint.
Not for like another 10 years, there's not.
But you have to get the guide for it
to
know what you're doing.
To know what to do.
Joe, he says, Yoshi stowed away in my suitcase as I headed back from a vacation in Dinosaur Island. When I found him, he was chewing on my new Nintendo Power. After I got it away from him, I saw your Player's Pulse question. Yoshi and I agree that the NES, Super NES, and Game Boy are the best. We think it's because of the endless hours of challenge and fun. Yoshi loves the taste, although he says the Game Boy could use more oregano.
Okay, who's
oregano?
Am I confused? Who's Yoshi?
This guy needs help. Just Yoshi's not real. If you are seeing Yoshi and you believe you've gone to Dinosaur Island, please seek medical attention.
You've had a little bit too much oregano.
Yeah.
I was trying to track the whole time. I'm like, who's Yoshi? What's going on here?
Why wasn't somebody at Nintendo Power just like, this is too cringy? Like, we can't do this.
Let's get this guy some help.
Because they said Nintendo's the best. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll just print it.
Plus,
that's what all these are.
What kind of duffel bag does this freak have? I mean, proportionally, Yoshi is clearly like the size of like a small horse if you compare him to Mario. So I don't think he's fitting in a duffel bag. Just saying. Unless it's the baby Yoshi and he hadn't fed it enough Nintendo Powers yet for it to poop out a 1-up and then grow into like
That's true.
Yep. Problem solved. We figured it out.
And finally, Mark, he says, I have a grandma who was babysitting my sister and I one night while we were playing our NES. I asked if she wanted to play with us, and she said, no, that's for kids. Later, we went to bed, and in the middle of the night, I woke up because I heard beeping, and Grandma was on level 4 of Super Mario Brothers.
I love those stories. I've heard many of them. Even, personally with my parents. You want to play? No, I don't want to play. I don't want to play. This is for you guys. And then you go to bed, and then you come down, and he's playing Operation Wolf or playing Duck Hunt. I mean, those are cool moments to see as a kid, like any adults or even grandparents playing video games. I remember my grandpa and I sitting down and playing Mario together. I mean, that was kind of cool. So consider it awesome, kid.
I remember waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of the Tetris music and then going downstairs. My dad's like sitting under the lamp because you had to with the Game Boy, like playing it in the darkness in the living room. It was great.
My parents had like the handheld gambling machines.
Oh yeah,
like
those were popular.
Slot machines, the Tiger handheld slot machines, basically. They did that at night. That's what I heard. But yeah, it's funny how like a lot of these questions are that where it's like, can you believe it? Old people are playing video games. And now that like doesn't exist, could you imagine like kids saying, oh, my dad was playing a video game? Of course.
Yeah, now people's grandparents are streaming on Twitch. So how the times have changed.
Yeah.
That's very true.
It's actually a pretty good idea though to keep like old people busy in a nursing home. Just set them up on live streams.
That's true.
I feel like that's a business opportunity.
Should we invest into a retirement home, elderly care?
They'd have a chat. They wouldn't get lonely,
You could put them on some goofy pills because they're just going to take it. You could get some really good content.
Yeah.
Each room has a built-in green screen. You push a button on that you wear around your neck, and the screen comes down, and everything turns on for you.
You
and
hit
you're
the
ready to
life
go.
alert is for your green screen. Genius.
I mean, you don't need it if you fall. Something to consider.
This is a good idea.
I mean, that's where I want to be when I'm old and retired, and I want to have that necklace that pushes the green screen down. So.
Yeah. Plus, there would be just something really cool about being a 90-year-old speedrunner.
You think you
That
can make
would
that
be.
happen in 90?
I might have the world record for a 90-year-old.
The market's a little bit smaller, but
Is there like a senior class for that? I don't know.
I beat World 1-1 with like 1 second to spare. This is amazing.
We laugh, but they could smoke our ass at like Wii bowling, I'm sure.
It's sad but true.
Anyway, that's all I have for this week. So
all
let's
right.
wrap this up, Nate.
But I had more.
Oh,
No, I didn't.
sorry.
I didn't.
You interrupted my big
Dang.
moment. I had a
Sorry.
big moment,
lied,
and
everyone.
you interrupted it. This is the
He was getting
time
ready.
that I get to talk.
All right, I'm sorry.
All right,
I'm so
if you're
sorry.
still
Go ahead.
listening with us, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email, of course. Send us your comments, concerns, if you have any. If I'm getting interrupted by Ryan or anything like that, send it. You can send those emails and everything to weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. You should follow us on Twitter as well as on Facebook. Lots of things happening over there. And you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com. And as always, be kind and rewind.
Enjoy your NES, you hoser.
You'll shoot Rob's eye out.
Bananas.
Memnon.